So today we're going to be talking about the Akashic Records, this gnarly library that basically holds the keys to our past, present, and future. It is what's considered the book of life in some religions. Every thought, intention, everything that you've ever done in lives and in between lives is held within the Akashic Records. It can be an extremely useful tool for like self discovery, for healing, for manifestation, for spiritual guidance. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And I'm also going to share some of my experiences in the Akashic Records with you.
It feels a lot like your soul is very peaceful. It's come here to experience a lot of peace. You're supposed to find peace even in the chaos. There are mirroring things in this life from that past life that you've come to heal with this person.
You're strong. I mean, you can even, pull yourself up without even having your feet touch anything.
I find that even in your current life right now, it's still important for you to use your voice.
What I'm getting is that you want a love that you can contribute to. You're asking for like platinum, so you can't accept the copper when it shows up, even though it's pretty too.
You are being pushed outside your comfort zone to seek new heights.
And you are true to yourself and you're true to others around you as you live your authentic life. You are just you, and that is all you need to open up. We need you to speak your truth, Katrina.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Intentional Tangents with Trina. Today we're going to be delving into the mystical world of the Akashic Records. It's an ancient concept that holds the keys to our past, present, and future. The Akashic Records is often referred to as the Book of Life. It's this cosmic archive that contains the entire history of every soul, every thought, every experience, every intention, everything. Everything is in there. It's a concept that's rooted in various spiritual and esoteric traditions, including Hinduism and what is referred to as New Age spirituality. But I hate that word because the reality is that nothing that we're doing, you guys, it's new. It's all ancient stuff that's just being brought back into our awareness. And, if you understand that with the concept of time, that time is non-existence and there is no new, there's only now. It's never new, it's just now. So I digress. Basically, I like to imagine the Akashic Records looking like a library, basically, of light. And the reason why I like to use the analogy of light is because as an intuitive, when I get messages, it's like, how can I explain it? It's like I envision or when I feel things too. So like, everything is basically vibration, sound, and light, So what I'll imagine is like my guides, angels, or higher self putting a ball, like a tiny little ball, like a little LED light. You know how those LED lights are super duper tiny, but they're super bright? It's like that. But within that beacon of light, there's just all this information, right? And so I've had experiences where and it's such a it's almost like a telepathic communication, but it's not. It's with light, basically. And so like I'll be talking to someone, for example, and I'll be like giving all right, so I'm sure I've talked about this before, but just to give a little idea, so I'll be talking to someone and telling them something that I think that they'll benefit from hearing. Usually I can tell when it's my ego because my ego cares very much about how people feel. And so I'll be trying to kind of placate the way people feel, whatever, right? So I'll be going into this tangent, explaining this information. And then as I'm in the middle of talking, like it's, how when you're talking and you know where you're starting and you know where you're going and you know where you're going to finish, right? You got to understand that you have this cadence of like what's coming out of your mouth. Well, in the middle of delivering that speech, a whole completely different perspective, knowing and understanding. And it's so thorough and just like it's everything. It's not surface level. It's not superficial. It's very like everything. And so I'll imagine when I'm getting information from my guides and angels, one of them, whoever it is, just tapping me, my mind, or whatever, my heart maybe. Sometimes it actually depends on who I'm channeling for and whatever. So whatever, they'll basically put this information through one of the portals of, your being. so that you have that understanding. And then, so I'll like kind of go completely off track of what I was saying. And now I'm delivering this completely different message. And now I have this completely different understanding that wasn't even on my, it wasn't even on my radar, prior to kind of going on this tangent. So, it's a really, really, really cool thing though, because it gives you such profound insights into your life purpose, your relationships, your personal growth. So that's how I've used the Akashic Records mostly, I feel like. Relationships and personal growth. All right, well, before we get into like some examples of like how I've used the Akashic Records, I want to quickly talk about how to access the Akashic Records. Now, with respect to everything spiritual, I deeply feel like if you weren't raised spiritual, right? Like if your parents weren't hippies, basically, or some kind, it doesn't even have to be hippies. It could be literally any sort of religious, because all religion is spiritual. All being is spiritual. Just being is spiritual, because we're all, whatever. So there's quite a few ways that you can access the Akashic Records, but I think the biggest thing that I want to say is like, let go of expectation and just allow, information to come to you however it is best, however it's going to be best received by you. So I was taught, so I actually studied accessing the Akashic Records in a couple different ways. I read a book. I don't remember what the woman's name is. I'll try to look it up and look it, but it was like Accessing the Akashic Records, I believe is what it was called. And I feel like the lady's name might have been Lois or something. I don't know. Read that book, attempted to access the Akashic Records, and didn't feel like I had, success, because I was expecting something very specific to happen when I accessed the Akashic Records. So she basically, in that book, she gives you like a sacred prayer. So it's basically just like, it's such a, honestly, you guys, prayers really, really, really work. Like they really work. I find personally one of my favorite things to say if I am stepping into a situation where I know Spirit's going to utilize me in some way, shape, or form, is to just get me out of the way. Just get Trina out the way. Allow me to be a clear channel for myself or for whoever, I'm connecting with. It's a big deal though. Like prayers, I feel like are an extremely big deal, because it really helps you set the tone for what your energy is, for what you're hoping to get out of the experience. And then there are also some visualization techniques that people use, where you like imagine a pathway or a staircase that like leads into the Akashic Records, or, imagine yourself walking into this library and being greeted by all these beings of light that are there to help guide you and get you to the information that you need, because Akashic Records are extremely vast, and you can't just like, you imagine just walking into this massive library and there's like, you don't even know where to start. It's just all this information. Once you gain access to the Akashic Records, the possibilities are pretty endless here, though. You can ask so many questions. You can use it to kind of explore past lives, understand like reoccurrings that are happening in your life. That's one of the ways I definitely have used it. Gain insights into your unique strengths and challenges. You could use it for healing. Every time I have gotten an Akashic Records reading, I don't give a fuck. Every single time I have walked away feeling so much more empowered. It's funny because like I've used the Akashic Records to help me through times of just deep pain and just despair, or just like, what the fuck am I missing? I need to understand what is happening here so that this doesn't happen again, right? And so I will usually go into an Akashic reading with this feeling of like just helplessness and desperation and just needing guidance and assistance. And every single time I have come out, the angst that I've walked in with is completely soothed. It's just completely put at ease. It's like the understanding that I now have is, it allows me to be with whatever the circumstance is and understand it in a way that allows me to move through it and no longer be stuck in, any sort of mental cycles or anything like that. I'm gonna like play. So my, the intro to my podcast actually is, a few of them are like tidbits from Akashic Records readings that I've had. And I want to say one of the side effects of utilizing the Akashic Records for me has been like, even though I used it with intent to heal or with intent to whatever, like the level of understanding of myself that has come from accessing the Akashic Records is just fucking magic. Like, you know how you know who you are, right? You know who you are. And maybe you've gone through this life feeling completely misunderstood, completely unseen, knowing that there are beautiful parts of you that not everybody has gotten to bear witness to, or maybe there are beautiful parts. Because I feel like this is my ex-husband. Like, my ex-husband, I feel like there's been parts of me that he's seen that no one else has seen. He is who I have spent the majority of this life with, relationship wise. My ex-husband and I were off and on for 12 years. He has known me. That's the longest non having a child, really not being one of my kids' relationships that I've had with any person is with my ex-husband. And there's been different situations that have come up or that have been discussed about me without my even fucking asking. Okay, I'm gonna give you this is the example. All right, so once upon a time, my ex-husband, so we're already divorced, right? But he was moving. And so I've moved a lot in my life. Like, I am a fucking professional mover, and I don't really know how to be a friend because I'm not super social, and I was, I'm a hardcore introvert, and I moved around a lot as a kid. So I don't really know how to like have and maintain friendships, but I know this. I know that moving sucks. Nobody likes it, right? But I'm a physical person. I like doing physical shit. And so, like, you might not be able to count on me to be your friend and like be there for your surprise birthday party or remember, your work anniversary. I don't even know what do friends do, guys. I don't fucking know. But I will be there when you need some heavy shit picked up, and I will be there without complaining, and I will get that fucking shit done. So anyway, I offer my ex-husband, I was like, you need any help moving or whatever? He's like, yes, like, thank you, because he was stressed out. Moving is, whatever. And okay, so I was like, so I started asking him, like, what do you want me to, whatever. He's like, Trina, just do it, just like take over. I don't want to think about it anymore. And I'm like, all right, I got you. I'm just gonna move shit. So my daughter, our daughter, had a drafting table, right? This big drafting table, and it's like made of this heavy glass. It's like slanted, like a legit fucking drafting. This table was fucking heavy. So I had carried this table outside by myself, basically, and put it right next to the base of the U-Haul, right? Now, anyone who's like had a U-Haul knows that, like, you have to push heavy shit up the ramp, right? Obviously, but not this bitch, because I train, I do deadlifts and stuff like that, right? So I'm looking at this table and I'm standing up on this thing and I'm like, I could lift this shit up. It's basically a deadlift, right? So I basically bend down, grab each side of this, what you call it, and just lift this shit straight the fuck up. And like just like put the thing on it. And my ex-husband walks out the house as I'm doing this, and he was like, damn, like, what the fuck? What kind of, whatever. So I have gnarly like strength, right? And in the very first Akashic record reading I got, the lady opens up, and it's in my podcast opening, where she's like, you're strong. She's like, I don't know if you're just like physically strong or you're like mentally strong. She's like, but they're showing me just pulling you up by the ropes. Like, you don't even need to use your feet. Like, and I remember thinking, like, fuck, man. So everything that I am, every unseen part of me, every quiet deed, every pure intention, every wish of love, every part of me that nobody sees is seen. It is seen and it is celebrated. And that was huge for me, because as a person who's not a big tooter of one's own horn, I prefer to, my way of being is very much like, I want to help, but I don't give a fuck who knows, and I don't give a fuck who gets the credit. I just don't care. I just want to contribute to the greater good. I don't really care about, the details or, who gets credit or whatever. Now I want to go ahead and share some of the audio from this past life, not a past life reading, this Akashic Records reading that I got with Lorena. So I've had Akashic Records readings by, I believe, 3 different people. Lorena Espiga, Rachel Horton White, and Aline. I don't know what Aline's last name is. And honestly, last time I looked at her website, it wasn't available online. So I don't know if she's still offering readings or not. And it's interesting because Spirit will definitely send you. Here's a couple of other things about the Akashic Records. They will send you a reader, or you can do it yourself. But what I've learned is that they send me readers who have the exact energy that I need. So Lorena Espiga, she's like earth sign, practical, down to earth. My natal chart includes no earth, like none. So it was really good for me to work with somebody who was like, extremely grounding and just delivered information in like a super practical way. Like I really enjoyed working with Lorena. All right, so context. Let's go into context. All right, so this particular reading, it's about 16 minutes long. I don't know if I'm going to share all of it. But so this reading was done after I had broken up with somebody who I basically kind of had like a yo-yo relationship with this person. It was like we would get together. It felt like, very, very strong connection, very similar energies. Felt like he was the person for me, like perfectly created just for me, perfect reflector of me, whatever. Turns out he was a complete fucking lying narcissistic asshole, but I didn't know this at the time. I mean, I had inklings. I was given messages by spirit, but it wasn't like everything, and that was one of the lessons I learned from this particular person. If my guides and angels are telling me to leave you alone, I shouldn't stick around to find out why they are telling me to leave you alone. I should fucking leave. Like, I'm talking to somebody now where my guides and angels are constantly telling me not to leave him alone. And I'm constantly trying. But I've learned my fucking lesson. Instead of listening to me and being like, fuck you, I'm out, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do what the fuck they say as long as, because man, they can see everything, you guys. And we don't. All right, I digress. Okay. So left this guy, was feeling really good about the decision to leave him, but like a week after I left him, I was overcome with this despair that did not make sense. It logically didn't make sense to me. I'm like, you're not for me. Like, the universe has shown me unequivocally you're not for me, and like I don't want to feel drawn to somebody who so very clearly is not a person I want to be associated with, right? And so I got this reading because I was over it. I was over feeling despair for someone who at that particular point in my reality did not deserve. Like, if he was on fire, I shouldn't have pissed on him. Like, that was the level of no thank you I was on this man, right? So let's go ahead. So the way it works with Lorena, I'm sorry, you guys, Mercury's in Sagittarius, I'm all over the place. So the way it works with Lorena, and also with, honestly, I felt like all three of the people I got Akashic Records readings from, they all had an opening message. And the opening message I found usually a spirit's way of saying, bitch, you're here because we wanted you here. That's the other thing. If you ever get readings, you're not setting that up. Your guides and angels are setting that up. So they'll like start giving the reader this information that is so perfectly aligned with what's going on. It's almost like, damn, do I even need to ask a question? Y'all just like surmised my whole energy and everything. So the beginning of this reading is the opening message that she's getting and the things that she's feeling. And then we're going to move into the way I asked my question. There's a lot of pain and despair in this. So like, just share that. Let's get started.
I'll take a sip of water. Okay. The first overall feeling I'm getting as I was opening your Akashic Records was, at least at a soul level, it feels a lot like your soul is very peaceful. It's come here to experience a lot of peace. Although they're saying there might be things in your life happening right now that don't feel like they're giving you peace, that is the essence that your soul's come to kind of experience here and be able to connect with. And that's at a human level. So if you look at it as a soul incarnating into this life, into Earth, and into this kind of human body, and all these human experiences that we're here to go through and maybe struggle with sometimes, that lesson of peace at moments might feel difficult. And that might be just internal, maybe mental health things. It might be external situations, relationships, it could be an array of things they're saying. So I feel like at moments maybe in your life, you're being pulled away from that peace, from that balance and that stability. And just to remind yourself, I think at a conscious level, when you're in those situations that are pulling you away from feeling peace, to understand that you're here to experience that and to accept it and to open up to it, understand that you're at moments you're bound to have those struggles because that lesson is so huge within that kind of container of peace, that you're supposed to find peace even in the chaos.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, at a soul level, when I was even just not even all the way through the verse, it felt so strong, the sense of like, oh my gosh, I feel like really calm and it's beautiful, right? It's this energy. I think inside of you, when you maybe meditate or you connect with yourself, you can sense that emotion, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of peace and that feeling of just overwhelming, like even I want to say the sense of joy, because that peace will give you joy. And to not let these things that are happening in your life, because I definitely feel like there's some things going on in your life. I don't recall our email if you mentioned anything, but it definitely feels like there are a few maybe things going on or repetitive things or issues that you're going through that at moments feel like they're frustrating and pulling you away, but they're saying just to really just release the control that you're trying to put into that, and to realize that you're supposed to find peace with that chaos. And as you find peace through that chaos, you're going to either not manifest or bring that stuff into your life anymore because you've learned that lesson. Because I think maybe in your mind, in your logical mind, it's this idea of, in order to be peaceful and feel peace, everything around me in my external environment needs to be peace, and everything needs to be calm and balanced, and it needs to all make sense. And saying not necessarily, because you have some lessons to learn. To me, it feels like this like peace that's such a big word in your life and in this incarnation feels very connected to a past life of just feeling complete and utter chaos. And to me, it feels like war. It feels like conflict. It feels like something very big. It wasn't just about the relationships and things in your life, like maybe now, but it feels very much connected to something way bigger and really scary, I want to say, because it feels like it's not just about, it's like, I just want safety. So maybe even in moments in your life now, it's not just about peace. You can feel that, am I safe? Am I okay? And that past life to me was very chaotic. And it feels like, oh my gosh, like your soul has decided to come back and find peace. But maybe you get triggered by some of these things happening in your life where it kind of feels it feels like it's like you lose control. Like, I think that would be the best way to explain it. And I think that's only bringing up some of this stuff in your, like, in your soul, and that you need to kind of deal with today and look at and be able to let go, but also maybe learn a new way to deal with it. Because even though it isn't war, it isn't conflict, it still feels like that at moments. And it's kind of this idea of like, I'm putting my life on the line. I'm in this chaos, but I don't understand it. And I don't agree with it. So it's like, it felt like it was against your free will in a way, a little bit. So this is why you've been given free will now to find peace and to create peace in your life. Because it feels like at moments, sometimes they're saying that you could create the chaos yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's just like kind of like, we could label that, they're saying, is like self-sabotage in a way.
Yep.
But we have to also think you're a little bit programmed in that way, maybe from your childhood, maybe from this past life, and you can't avoid that. So I think it's really being able to connect with yourself and understand that you have the power within yourself. You need to empower yourself to know that you have the free will, the power, the ability to create peace in your life with the things that you do and the choices you make. I think some of this has to do with choices and decisions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would make a lot of sense. That this direction feels like this feels connected to that past life a lot, and why you have so much free will to create peace now. Let's go into your questions.
Okay. Okay, so before we move into the questions, oh man, all right. So I want to say that one thing that I have been had the foresight or whatever to do is record all my readings. If you guys ever get readings, record the damn readings, because when you listen back, you just get different insights. I'm listening to that right now and I'm like, so that message, I'm not sure what you heard, but as I'm listening to that, it's like my higher self is being like, listen, honey, as you move through this life, everything is on the chopping block. And anything that does not bring you peace, you need to move away from, because that is our way of letting you know whether or not that is in alignment. That relationship, it was like we would get together and then things would be beautiful, and then it would be stress and anxiety and chaos and bullshit, and just like, it just was not, it was the opposite of peaceful. I never felt at rest. I never felt like safe. Yeah, it was the most tumultuous relationship I've ever had. Should we say ever? I don't know. I don't want to say ever, but it was bad. It was really bad. So, so yeah, that was like a really beautiful message to hear, because they were like, that's really that simple, right? So we can go into the past lives and we can tell you why everything is everything. But really, that's all you need to know, honey, is that you're here to experience peace. And any choice that you make that is pulling you from peace, you need to consider making a different choice. But it's your life. You can do whatever you want, So if you want to stay on the merry-go-round of stress and chaos and bullshit, which is basically what this relationship was, you can do that. But look how you feel. Oh God. All right, so let's go into the questions. So I am having reoccurring patterns in a relationship that I recently left, because it moved into a space that no longer made me feel peace. I felt like I just couldn't be there. So I have some questions so here's my deal. I feel like I keep going back. I'm extremely drawn to this person, and I was the moment I met him. So I do feel like there may be some soul contract stuff, some past stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to understand what my soul contract is with this man. If we shared a past life, what karma we needed to transmute, so to speak. Because what I really need today is to
take your time. It's okay.
Just because I keep feeling like it's like, I don't know, it's just like this magnetic pull.
Like you can't help yourself.
Yeah, and it's not superficial. It's deep. It's like, because honestly, kind of his personality, some parts of it turn me off. You know what I mean? Like if there wasn't this deep other feeling of connection, I would have been moved on.
Of course.
So I want to understand why there's this pull with him, what I'm supposed to learn so that I can let it go and get on to whatever's next.
You feel like it's holding you back.
It is, because even though I left and I feel a huge sense of peace, I keep having these spurts of like deep, just despair, pain, and just like missing him and missing the energy and feeling like I might be making the wrong decision. Not 100% sure, even though in my logical mind on paper, my decision was perfect, but spiritually it's like, you know what, if you'd have potentially chosen this, you may have let more love into your life, or if you'd have chosen that, maybe this would have been different, or so I need to find I'm just struggling to let go, and I need to get a really deep sense of understanding and closure with respect to this relationship.
Okay, that makes complete sense. Okay. I generally vibe off of, because obviously I wouldn't have their Akashic Records open, but I can vibe off of names. So if you have like their first and last name, that'll help me channel better.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me a moment. Usually I just kind of connect with the name and the energy, and then we'll get into the soul contracts, the past life and all that, and we'll ask about that. Yeah, definitely a past life in here. They're already showing it to me. Like the word despair that you said really that really connects to that past life. It's this feeling of like, what I see is like, they're not showing me the whole picture, but they're showing your hand and his hand, and you're trying to hold on to each other, and it's like your hands are slipping. This is just a way that they're showing me of the relationship falling apart in this past life, and it's you trying to hold on and him trying to hold on in some way. But the energy I feel behind that is like it's you that was separated from him for whatever reason, because they're not, we'll ask in a second, but this is very much linked to a past life. And I think that this is really interesting. I feel like a lot of stuff we're going to go into in your reading is going to be about past lives. It feels very much like that for some reason, which isn't the case usually. But what they want you to understand is there are mirroring things in this life from that past life that you've come to heal with this person. And this is why it's so hard, because in this past life, it feels like there was a lot of things that were unsaid and there was like not any closure. It is like you were separated, it was like you were split, they're saying. This is where I'm going to ask them, like, was this forced upon them? Was this something that, like, I feel what your soul's feeling, like the same way you're feeling today of complete and utter like emptiness? That's how your soul feels in that life. It feels very much like your heart was torn out, like a part of you was missing. And I think that's how you feel today. Even though the relationship here didn't feel perfect, it wasn't that way in the past life either. There were things, but there was this pure and genuine connection that to me you were supposed to meet in this life to kind of reconcile and be able to, they're saying, say your goodbye. This past life, there was no closure. In the past life, there was a split. There was a separation of the two beings. That was, it to me feels abrupt. It feels like it wasn't really decided by you or by him. And the weird thing is, it feels like you're also the woman and he's also the man. So it's very similar energies, and it's like your souls have decided to come experience it in the same way. And this is why they're saying it feels so much stronger, because sometimes you can come experience it as like mother and child or father and daughter or whatever, or uncle and aunt. But no, in this case, they said it needed to be in the context of a relationship to really come together and be able to find that closure. And I wouldn't even go as far as to say, is this the first time? Because it feels like there's more than one breakup or split or separation.
No, there's been a couple of them.
Yeah, so
yeah, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's hard. And this is where you also have to have your boundaries, because to me it feels like in that past life you didn't have a lot of choice, and here you're here to have choice, and you're going to find peace through the choices and the decisions you make. And this is why it gets really tricky, right? Like they were saying at the beginning, the decisions that you're making feel difficult. They're not easy. You're just going to struggle with them at moments. But ultimately, your decisions need to be from a place of, does this bring me peace or does this not bring me peace? It feels like his, you know what his soul feels like it's saying? Of course, I don't have his Akashic Records open, so I can't really speak for him. But it feels like his soul is saying, I need to push her away. So there might have been not just this, other things that you feel pushed you away. Maybe certain aspects of his, like you said, his personality, things like that were like, I don't know, this just doesn't feel right. Yeah, he's pushing you away for you to make that decision and be able to find peace and closure. Because they're going back to that past life. It feels like he had it all. And you were what he didn't have in that past life. Like you were the only thing that kind of separated from him. So it was, to me, it feels like the both of you were from very wealthy families. It felt like you had a pretty easy life, but this was something that maybe even kind of maybe feels like your family separated you. It was something that you didn't choose. You didn't want to leave him. He didn't want to leave you, yet you were separated. So in this life, it's like, yes, you maybe said, no, this doesn't work, or I have to go, or this, like, say goodbye to him or whatever. But it feels like it was like half-assed. It was like, no, but then you let him back in right away.
Yeah.
And the patterns continued and the same behavior continued. So this is not about him. This is about you and what brings you peace. And ultimately, to me, a relationship for you in this life feels like it is about peace. So how does that bring me peace, love, and joy? And right now, that relationship wasn't bringing that to you at all. It was bringing so much chaos and worry, and you're getting in your head. And like you said, it was your ego. and doubting yourself and not knowing what to do. And it, to me, it even distracted you from the things that actually brought you joy in your life. And that's what we want to move away from, they're saying, right? So this decision is hard, but you need to really sit with this and make a very conscious decision from a place of knowing your soul needs joy and peace and love. It's time to really close that door for the time being, for a while at least, for you to become more aware of what's going on in your life. Because to me, he's clouding your judgment. He's clouding a lot of things in your life and not allowing you to focus on the things that you really want to focus on. So we went into the past life, definitely a soul contract. We spoke a little bit about him wanting to come together and push you away for you to make a decision. And for ultimately, this isn't necessarily about saying goodbye, but this is more about you being able to make the decision for yourself. Because in this past life, that separation wasn't decided by you or by him. It was decided by somebody external to the relationship. So now it's really up to you. Empower yourself and realize that you do have a say here, because I think sometimes you feel like he has a spell on you or something. He's only one person in that journey of yours.
I feel like he's the first person in my life that I was able to like just truly be myself with. You know what I mean?
Mm.
In a lot of ways where I wasn't able to do that with other people or in other situations. And he taught me a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, that really goes to show the soul contract in the past life and some of the karma that you guys carry. That usually those relationships are very strong, very heart-wrenching. But what your soul is really saying is you're here to experience this too, and bring back some of that emotion from the past life to be able to heal it now, because it wasn't unhealed. To me, it felt like you were just separated and you lived the rest of your life just kind of angry with whoever separated you or the situation, and then just not moving on from it, if that makes sense. So blocking yourself. So I don't want this to block you
right
from potentially meeting somebody else.
Wow. Oh my God, so much to unpack. But the long of the short of it was getting this reading helped me understand why emotions that I didn't understand, that did not feel justified given the situation, why they were there. And after this reading, I remember getting off the line with her and just smiling and just being so like, oh, thank God, And I love how thorough Lorraine is, because she will sit there and write your question. She'll ask probing questions to source to kind of get an understanding. And that whole thing with it just being my choice, like, it's an interesting dynamic to be drawn to someone who is not good for you, and you're like, why the fuck do I keep drinking this poison, and getting this Akashic Records reading helped me understand that it was an opportunity for choice. It wasn't about anything that happened between him and I. It wasn't about any of the dick and pussy shit. It wasn't about it wasn't about none of that mattered. All that truly mattered was he came into my experience to give me the choice to walk away from him. And every fucking encounter I had with that man, there was a moment of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you hang out with someone and it's like, there's a lot of really cool things about you, but there's some shit that you just got to swallow. It's just nasty. It's just like, ugh, so there was like, and so now in this particular to where I've evolved to date to where I'm at now, like if I'm with somebody and it feels really shitty like that, I know I just need to go. When she talked about just the simplicity of like following your emotions, because our emotions are what lead us, right? I've heard once that the soul speaks from the neck down, which I agree with to a certain extent, because I've had some neck up experiences with my soul, but the point is that your intuition, your, like, if you ever feel anxiety in your chest or something, like, it's just the idea of that your emotions are leading you to whatever is your highest, greatest good. and just simply following the feeling of peace. Like, okay, I'm drawn to this person, but this connection just brings me anxiety. So I'm gonna go find something that doesn't feel like this. That the simplicity of that, having that much self-love for yourself, that's like a huge level up. So I wasn't there yet. I needed to get this understanding so that I could integrate and apply that in the future, But understanding was huge for me because I do have a very analytical mind and I do like to understand things. And it's one of my greatest gifts and curses because, it's made it really interesting for my guides and angels through my spiritual awakening, because I'm always like, I have this folder, you guys. I got a whole fucking thick ass folder where I printed like all this information out, like all these readings that I've gotten, all this information I've gone through and highlighted things. Like, I'm such a student, like, just like, but sometimes I can get in my way because sometimes I'm like, okay, instead of just accepting the lesson at the level of the emotions, it's like my mind's like, no, I need to conceptually understand why this didn't work, or I need to conceptually understand why I feel this way, even though all these receipts right here say I should feel this way. I think there's this lesson for me in this life where it's like we just really rest on the merit of our own intuition. Just this doesn't feel good, so I'm just going to go, and that's going to be enough. I don't need to do any more, I don't need to dig for any more receipts or any more anything else. This just is what it is. I'm going to allow it to be what it is. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to overanalyze. I'm not going to spend my precious emotional energy, pointed toward this thing. I'm just going to accept that what is, and I'm going to act accordingly. So huge, huge, huge lesson for me. And a beautiful one. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap this up here. If you've had any experiences with the Akashic Records that you'd like to share, I would love to hear about them. Feel free to drop them in the comments below. We also, by we, I mean me. I'm always saying we, and it's funny because when I say that, I'm actually like referring to myself and my soul and my spiritual team, and like nobody talks like that. But we also have created a hotline for the podcast. So if you want to call in, if you have any questions about anything, any of my stories, antidotes, abilities, whatever, feel free to call in with that information. Or if you want to share something, I don't care if it's like dreams, stories, perspectives, whatever, give me a call. Feel free to leave a voicemail. Know that I may use your voice for the podcast. The number is 909-375-0880. And I am going to double check to make sure that's the right number, because I actually really struggle to remember numbers. Right. The number is 909-375-0880. Thanks for listening, guys.